It is deadline day in Major League Baseball, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, less than 10 hours away. That is the official trade deadline in MLB. Your team's final chance to either sell and look forward to the future or buy, not a best bet, but buy to bolster the roster to make a move into playoff contention and a deep run in October. We expect to see a flurry of maneuvers on this Tuesday trade deadline day, but in the last few days and over the weekend, DRS, we have seen some moves around the bigs. Yesterday, the big deal, a 3-team trade between the Dodgers, Cardinals, and White Sox. The White Sox selling, of course, now riding a 15-game losing skid. Eric Fetty and Tommy Pham make their way to St. Louis. Michael Kopech, some bullpen bolstering for the Dodgers, makes his way to L.A. Tommy Edman also going to Los Angeles. And in return, the White Sox acquire a bunch of young talent. How about that? PTBNL, a player to be named later, makes its way on the graphic as well.
Yeah, but we're taking a look at some of these, and it's a shame that we're leading off with these type of deals because what we wanted out of the Dodgers was absolute fireworks and blockbuster moves. Now, having said that, we still are looking forward to a day that could have some of those fireworks a little bit later. But if you're asking me, and for the past 3 weeks, what we were looking forward to, let's just say the Dodgers, because they did come up in this deal, they didn't get anybody. Like Michael Kopech, any average player. Tommy Edman, who even knows if he's going to play, just like a bench guy at this point. So it's interesting to see to me because I expected the Dodgers to say, we have more money and more prospects than anybody. We are going to overflow baseball where people are going to be screaming, crying by the time you wake up on Wednesday morning by saying, it's not fair the Dodgers just won the World Series. That's what I'm waiting for at this point. So when I analyze this deal, I don't think anybody got better. And I'm like, quite frankly, sure why these deals even went down other than just to move players off of the White Sox at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment. All right, so some more pre-deadline deals yesterday that maybe moved the needle more for DRS. The Braves acquiring Jorge Soler from the San Francisco Giants. The Braves traded for him at the deadline in 2021. They went on to win the World Series that year, and Soler won the World Series MVP hardware. The Houston Astros acquiring Yusei Kikuchi from the Toronto Blue Jays. As we shared, Milwaukee adds Frankie Montas, who, of course, spent most of his career in Oakland, was pretty solid, at least as a strikeout guy with the A's, a +5 ERA this year so far with Cincinnati. The Mariners add a bat in Justin Turner. The Dodgers reacquire Ahmed Rosario, who they traded for at the trade deadline a season ago as well.
Yeah, some of these deals no-brainers, though. So I like these much more than the first deals that we talked about. The Braves getting Jorge Soler. It's going to change the landscape of the National League or National League East. No, it's not. But what did the Braves need? They needed some hitting, and they got a guy that's done quite a bit of hitting in Atlanta. Love that move. Yusei Kikuchi, you might say to yourself, this isn't a deal that's going to make the Houston Astros legitimate title contenders just on that one move alone. But you got to get to the playoffs here if you're fighting with a couple teams in the AOS. Kikuchi is going to be that guy who's going to eat innings and give you solid starts. You can't just have guys on a day-to-day basis like, who is this guy? Who did they bring up now? At least you have a veteran presence, and that move made a lot of sense for the Houston Astros. Montas for the Brewers. You might also look at them like, well, what does that actually do? Have you noticed the Brewers' rotation here? Each and every day, it seems like they're getting more and more injured here. You need somebody who just is able to get those innings for you. Montas will provide that. Maybe my favorite move of the day, the Guardians. Told you yesterday, we need some bats here. You need to get some foundational talent in that lineup. Lane Thomas is a really good player. One of the guys that I bet quite a few times on the Nationals this year. That move just makes sense. And the Mariners, you might look at it and say, well, Justin Turner is fried at this point. Anything you get out of him for the Mariners is a positive. The Mariners are going for just adding bats in that lineup that might be able to give you some help. Ahmed Rosario to the Dodgers, okay move for me. But a lot of those moves that we're previewing right now on the screen, they made a lot of sense just to get you through your day-to-day activities in baseball. Smart moves for those clubs.
When you can add those pieces, it could be the difference later on. Again, Jorge Soler was a World Series MVP for the Braves when they won the championship back during the 2021 campaign. Lane Thomas now makes his way to Cleveland, batted .253 so far this year in the nation's capital for the Nats, 8 home runs in 40 RBIs. Still on the block on deadline day. We're going to need our producer, Joe Frizo, to chime in. His sources now telling him that Garrett Crochet is available to be dealt from Chicago. Again, the White Sox riding a 15-game losing skid. As Donnie correctly predicted entering yesterday's Monday MLB slate, Jack Flaherty was listed as the probable starter for Detroit. Donnie said if Flaherty's actually going to be traded, he's not pitching on Monday against the Guardians. He did not. It was Bo Brisky. Cleveland won big. It was minus 120 at the time. Hope you listened to Donnie Rightside, but we would expect with a late scratch, Flaherty is going to get moved. And is Blake Snell going to be traded? Did San Francisco show its hand dealing Jorge Soler yesterday, that they are actually going to be sellers ahead of the deadline?
I think a lot of these guys get moved today, but the one most interesting one is Garrett Crochet, because it's not as if you're saying, hey, the price is too high. The leaks coming out aren't good, and this is particular for the Chicago White Sox, where the agent is saying, well, if we go to a new deal or a new team, I want a new deal, number one. Also want to have the terms where you're not going to get me. Let's just say the Dodgers make a move for Crochet and go, you know what? He's going to be an awesome bullpen piece. He doesn't want to pitch out of the bullpen, so it's only as a starter. So those demands get listed, and it's not really the team that's looking to pay those. It's the team that's looking to sell, which is the White Sox going like, I would just like to sell you to the highest bidder. And if the highest bidder is the Dodgers, and they want you out of the bullpen or a long relief guy, and you say no, well, I can't trade you at that point. And also, if I do get traded, I want to make sure these innings that are piling up now after my surgery over a couple of years ago don't get extremely high. And if they do, I want to be compensated. I've seen for Crochet. So I would look at that list, Flaherty, Snell, Robert Jr., Rengifo, and Diaz, and say to myself, maybe the guy that least likely to get traded today is Crochet now, and he should have been the one that would be favored to get traded, but he wants his demands to be met. That could be a tough sell, Ben.
Because I think Garrett Crochet is not just a rental, 160 strikeouts, second most in MLB this year. He's got a 6-8 record. Why would they trade for somebody and offer up so much for a guy that's got a losing record? He individually has 6 of the 27 wins the White Sox have had this year in a 3.23 ERA. I cannot wait to see what the Giants do with Blake Snell, acquiring the reigning National League Cy Young winner this offseason. Could be a short stint in San Francisco, but he has been sensational in the month of July.